back to Dale's workshop. Today's video is going to be about charcuterie boards. I've made 2 or 3. I got some lumber from an old piano a guy gave me. He said it was over 100 years old, 125 years old. Not, don't have any proof of that, but it's old, it's very old. But I think the wood turned out to be poplar. Had a little green tint to it. But I made like 2 or 3 boards out of it. I'll show you all 3 of them. And also I found another one. I found this old board in my stack, which at first glance I thought it was walnut, but as I cut into it, cedar. So I wasn't real sure if I could make a charcuterie board out of cedar, so I did some research on it. Come to find out you can, because you're not cutting into the board on a charcuterie board, you're just serving food on it. And that seems to be okay. What we're going to do today, we're going to get into making this board, designing it. My daughter's already designed what she wants on it. And so now it's just up to me to make it, I guess. Yeah, check out these old boards. These are off of a piano. A friend of mine took the piano apart and brought me some wood. I got a bunch of it down in the barn. But these boards are, well, at least the piano was 125 years old. Well, this was the first board. I didn't video making this one. I will the next one, cutting it out and everything to show you, but that's a pretty grain. I think it's poplar, but I'm not sure. I don't really know my woods that well. But anyway, I'm getting ready to put the oil on it now. Got my stamp on it. Well, I've ran it through the planer and I decided not to bore you with that. And I put this, what I call a moat, around it. This was the first time I've tried this. I kind of messed up a little bit right there in that corner. But yeah, I got this one's going to have handles on it. And they'll be kind of countersunk in here on the back. So this is another board from this from the piano wood that I have. It's I think it's poplar. Kind of got a greenish tint to it. This is what it looked like prior to. It's got that old varnish on there that's, you can see it now. I mean, it's hard, thick, whatever it is. It's a mess. Here's some over here on this. And I have to use a planer in order to take it off. It does a pretty good job. Well, it does an excellent job. Well, I just finished this board for my daughter. We added these handles on here, which really kind of makes it look quite attractive. Yeah, I liked how this turned out. Turned out real good. Right here was a little gouge. It was maybe a 1/16 of an inch deep. And so I filled it with some sawdust and CA glue. Then sanded it down really, you can't even feel it. And it turned out really nice. See, it's even got these darker pieces, streaks in there, so it just kind of blends in. That's even better than I expected. But I think I've got it smooth enough. I've hit it with, I forgot what the first grit was, but I've come back now with 320 and a piano hinge. You know how the top boards, or sometimes on the top of the old upright pianos, they had the the hinge. It went all the way from one end to the other. And that's what this is. It was attached here. And here in this groove, you can see where the hinge was. But I thought the holes kind of gave it character, so that's where we are. I think we're about finished with this board. I'm going to give it another once over and see if there's any more dents and dings in it, and then I think it'll be ready for the oil. Okay, now I'm using Howard cutting board oil. It says it's a food grade mineral oil enriched with vitamin E. It's going to be a healthy board. Makes that grain pop right on out of there. I'm putting it on kind of thick because I want it to be good. Well, I think she'll like it. And this one is for my wife. I made my daughter one, and a friend of ours that gave me the wood, I made her one. And I think it looks pretty good. This part I always forget. Now it's complete. This old board, I don't know. It must be pretty old. I don't even know where I came by, but I think I got it from my brother-in-law who passed away a few years ago. And because he had a lot of wood there that he had kept that was pretty old. And I think that's where this came from. So somewhere along in here, I'll show you some of the things that he made. He was quite a talented woodworker. And I learned some things from him. And when he passed away, I was able to get a lot of his tools, which has helped me tremendously in my bills. So we will get on with this and see how it turns out. Well, this is it for today. I got it all cut out, got the edges sanded, and I got all of the knot holes and everything filled up with epoxy. So now I gotta wait at least 24 hours, maybe longer, depends on what kind of time I have, and we'll get back to this and sand it down. Isn't this a nice big old thick piece of cedar? Thing's an inch thick. And this is, I don't know how old this thing is, but these were all cracks and gouges that were in here, so I'm hoping that all this epoxy will sand down good. I'm using a 60 grit sandpaper, so let's see how it works. Well, these are some boards I'm making Christmas gifts out of. These are going to be charcuterie boards. I'm going to add some handles to this one. I think this will be nice. These are going to be gifts for in-laws. And of course, we don't want to make them too nice. And this is another one here. I was experimenting with putting some different woods together, and I think it turned out pretty well. They're not completely finished sanding yet. This one is cedar, and I think it's going to look nice once the oil and everything's added to it. And we'll get some more sanding done on these. This is, I'm not sure what kind of wood this is, but it came off of a piano. This is for a college student, and didn't want to get a real big one for her in the dorm because she got a little as room as possible anyway. And this one, this is also cedar. It's got some flaws in it, which you can tell. I've tried to cover them up with epoxy, some of them, but they're big Georgia Bulldog fans, so we're going to put red epoxy in these crevices and in these cracks and things like that. And we've got a couple of crevices on this side here that we got to fill up. Some more cracks, knot holes. These knot holes do leak all the way through. This one's pretty good size. I'm not sure what kind of handles we're going to put on here yet. Maybe black. Since its Bulldog colors are red and black, the wood's being cedar is kind of a little bit of, got red to it anyway, a red tint. And then we'll have all this other red, and then we'll get some black handles. And these are our Christmas gifts this year, and I'm giving to the in-laws and the outlaws and maybe some friends. Well, today I did some sanding, got them really smooth. They look a whole lot better than they did yesterday. But I think with the router around the edge improves them a lot. Maybe do another sanding job on them, get them really smooth. Then I'm going to put water on there to kind of raise the grain, sand them again, do the final touches, and then oil them up. Well, that was a big void I had to fill there, so it's going to be a pretty big charcuterie board. How much I had left. I mixed up 8 ounces. That's what I had left, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here and see how long this takes to harden, and I'll kind of be able to tell how long it takes the big pool. The reason for red is because the people who this is going to get this board for Christmas is big Bulldog fans. Well, just oiled them all up, letting them dry now, and boy, they sure do pop with that oil on there. Like that. Well, it looks a little better, doesn't it? I've been sanding on it for a couple hours now. On both sides is pretty smooth. Got all of the build-up that was on there. I ran it through the planer and knocked everything down where I could actually sand it. I went with a 100 grit, got everything smooth as possible. Then I went with a 180, finished up with a 240 grit, and I trimmed the edges with the router here. For the most part, I think this one's about ready. I got to put handles on it, of course, but not bad for a day's work. I had to add some more epoxy here because some of it had run out and the level. It got a little uneven. Some of the wood was showing there. So I'm going to let this dry, and probably in a day or two I'll come back, run this through the planer and sand and get it ready. Well, check it out. I just put the oil on it. See how the red comes out? Let me show you the other side now. Well, this is the other side. These are the handles I believe we're going to be using. I just spray painted them. Yeah. I think this will be the only other coat I put on here. Really looks pretty when it's fresh on there.
It's gorgeous.
But this was really old wood. The only reason I wanted to give it 2 coats of the oil.
Get it, now turn it around. Okay.
And that's it. Okay, we've started taking the excess epoxy off of here. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more. It feels a little bit tacky. So I'm going to let it dry overnight. The rest of it seems good, I think. Now all I need to do is just sand it from here on out. Well, here's another one. Not really sure what kind this is. This is white oak. I think this is cherry. More white oak. This may be mahogany. I don't know. It was wood that was given to me. I think it'll make a pretty board. We're going to spray this thing with some water now. That'll make that grain pop out. And then when I go back and sand it again, theory is behind all this, and it seems to work, that the grain doesn't pop up again when it gets wet. So we'll let her dry and give her another good sanding.